The loudest room you've ever sat in is the one inside your own head. Right now, as you listen to this, there's a running commentary beneath these words. Planning, judging, rehearsing conversations that haven't happened yet. Charles Haanel wrote an entire system around one counterintuitive claim, that learning to quiet that room is the single most productive thing you will ever do. By the end of this, you'll understand why stillness operates more like a precision instrument than a retreat. Haanel published the Master Key System in 1912 as a 24-part correspondence course. Each lesson built on the last, and every single one included the same homework assignment. Sit still. That was it. Week 1, sit still for 15 minutes. Week 2, sit still again, but with more control over your body. Week 3, still again, now releasing involuntary muscle tension. He didn't start with visualization. He didn't start with affirmation. He started with silence, and he kept returning to it because he understood something most people skip right past. The mind you're trying to use for creation is the same mind that can't sit in a chair for 10 minutes without fidgeting. That gap between your ambition and your attention span is where most manifestation efforts die. You've probably experienced this yourself. You set an intention, you felt the energy of it for a day or two, and then the noise crept back in. The old mental habits resumed. The intention dissolved like sugar in water, and you were left wondering what went wrong. What went wrong is that you tried to build on a foundation that was shaking. Haanel described the mind as having two distinct modes of operation. The first is the one you know well, the scattered, reactive, surface-level thinking that responds to every notification, every worry, every passing impulse. He called this the destructive mode. The word is harsh, but track your thoughts for a single hour and you'll see why he chose it. Most of what passes through your awareness tears down rather than builds. Anxiety about the future, regret about the past, criticism of yourself or someone else. Each thought carries creative power, and when that power scatters in 40 directions before breakfast, the net result is static. The second mode is what Haanel called constructive thinking. And this is where silence stops being a relaxation technique and becomes something else entirely. Constructive thought requires concentration, sustained, undivided attention held on a single idea long enough for that idea to take root in the subconscious mind. You can't access that level of focus while your inner world sounds like a crowded restaurant. The stillness comes first. The creative power follows. Think about the last time you had a genuine insight. A solution that arrived fully formed, almost like it was handed to you. Where were you? Probably in the shower, or driving alone, or lying in bed at that threshold between waking and sleeping. Those are moments when the mental noise drops low enough for something deeper to surface. Haanel's system was designed to create that state on demand, through practice, instead of waiting for it to happen by accident. Here's where most students of this work hit a wall. You sit down, close your eyes, and the noise gets louder. Every unresolved tension in your life shows up like it was waiting for an invitation. Your body itches, your mind races. You feel like you're failing at the one exercise that's supposed to be foundational. Haanel anticipated this. He wrote that the ability to sit still and control your physical body is the first test of mastery over yourself. If you can't govern your own limbs, how do you expect to govern your thoughts? And if you can't govern your thoughts, how do you expect to govern your reality? The progression is deliberate. Physical stillness trains the body to obey the will. Mental stillness, which comes later through weeks of practice, trains the mind to obey the will. And a mind that obeys your will, instead of running on its own momentum, becomes the most creative instrument available to you. Haanel compared this trained mind to a powerful lens focusing sunlight. Scattered light illuminates, focused light ignites. The same energy, the same source, producing wildly different results based on one variable: concentration. Your mental energy right now is scattered light, warm, present, but diffuse. The silence practice gathers that light into a single beam. So what does the beam do once it's focused? In Haanel's framework, sustained, concentrated thought on a specific idea impresses that idea onto the universal mind, the infinite creative intelligence that he described as the source of all form. Your subconscious mind is the gateway. When you hold an idea in perfect stillness, without contradiction, without the usual mental chatter pulling it apart, before it can settle, the subconscious accepts it as truth. And once the subconscious holds something as truth, it begins to externalize. Circumstances shift. Connections appear. Resources arrive through channels you couldn't have predicted or planned. This is why Haanel insisted that silence precedes every act of creation. The silence is where the impression is made. Skip it, and you're trying to develop a photograph in a room full of light. The image never fixes. But there's a subtlety most readers miss. Haanel distinguished between passive silence and active silence. Passive silence is simply the absence of noise. You can achieve that with earplugs. Active silence is a state where the mind is fully awake, fully alert, and fully still. Simultaneously, it's the difference between an empty room and a coiled spring. Both are quiet. One holds immense potential energy. This active stillness is what athletes describe as the zone. Time slows, awareness sharpens. Action flows without the usual friction of self-doubt and second-guessing. Haanel was describing the same state applied to the creative process of thought itself. You enter the silence, hold your ideal clearly and calmly, and let the deeper intelligence organize the details you could never manage consciously. The skeptic in you might push back here. If sitting still were truly this powerful, wouldn't everyone who meditates be living their ideal life? Fair question. And the answer reveals something important about the practice. Most meditation traditions aim for detachment, releasing thoughts, observing without engaging, cultivating non-attachment. Haanel's silence practice aims in the opposite direction. You enter the silence in order to attach, to connect with a specific ideal so completely that the boundary between you and it dissolves. The stillness is the laboratory, the concentrated thought is the experiment, the external result is the data. This means your silence practice has a purpose each time you sit down. You're building towards something specific. In the early weeks, the purpose is simply control. Can you hold your body still? Can you release tension? Can you quiet the surface chatter enough to access the deeper current? Later, the purpose becomes creative. You bring an idea into the silence, hold it, feel it as already real, and let the subconscious do what it does best. Bridge the gap between the invisible and the visible. Haanel wrote something in week 5 that stopped me cold when I first read it. He said that at least 15 to 30 minutes of daily silence should be the foundation of your entire practice, and that this single discipline would accomplish more than any amount of external effort, more than networking, more than strategizing, more than hustling, because all of those external actions are only as effective as the mind directing them. A scattered mind produces scattered results regardless of how many hours you put in. You've felt the truth of this in your own life. The weeks where everything clicked, where you were calm, clear, and things just seemed to flow, versus the weeks where you worked twice as hard and accomplished half as much. The difference between those weeks lives in the quality of your mental state. And the quality of your mental state is something you can train deliberately through this exact practice. The deepest teaching in the Master Key system might be this: the visible world is a printout. The invisible world, the world of thought, feeling, and concentrated attention, is the printer. Every hour you spend trying to rearrange the printout without changing what's being printed is an hour working against the grain of how creation actually operates. The silence takes you to the printer. It puts your hands on the keys. And yes, this requires discipline that will feel unreasonable at first. 15 minutes of genuine stillness, when your mind has spent decades running unchecked, feels like holding your breath underwater. Your body will protest, your thoughts will rebel. Every distraction you've been using to avoid the contents of your own mind will suddenly seem urgent. That resistance is the clearest sign you're approaching something real. The noise fights hardest right before it breaks. Haanel structured his system so that the silence deepens across 24 weeks. Each lesson adds a new layer of internal skill. By the end, the student can enter a state of concentrated creative thought within minutes, a state that most people experience only in rare, accidental flashes. The difference between the student and everyone else is the same difference between someone who waits for lightning and someone who built a generator. Your generator is waiting. It's been waiting in every quiet moment you've rushed to fill with sound, with scrolling, with anything to avoid the startling power of your own undivided attention. Tomorrow morning, before the world starts making demands, sit down, close your eyes, and for 15 minutes, build the silence that builds everything else.